Welcome to Just a Farm Wife with your host, Tara Emerson. Tara is a farm wife, photographer, mom, podcaster, author, public speaker, and much more. On this podcast, Tara takes listeners on a journey through all aspects of life and how we can create future growth. This podcast helps to empower women to believe they are more than the labeling that society hands them. And remember, you are never just in anything.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Just a Farm Wife. I am your host, Tara Emerson, and today we're speaking with my friend, Ginny Preme. Her and I met at TEDx in Cavalier, and it was such an honor to meet her, and I was so thankful that she agreed to do this podcast with me. She is a #1 best-selling author, just released a new book. She is a global keynote speaker and has a wonderful podcast called Unsubscribe. So make sure you take a look in the show notes to find all of her contact information and check out her podcast. When I recorded this episode, my son was at the hyperbaric clinic and I didn't have the time to record an introduction. As soon as we had gotten done with our episode, I had to go because he got out of treatment. But life is funny that way. And you have to show up no matter where you are. And showing up for yourself is the #1 most important thing that you can do. And this podcast is really important to me. I really, really enjoy doing it. And I hope that you enjoy listening. So thank you for watching and showing up in my messy life. I appreciate you and enjoy the episode. Hello and welcome. I want to welcome Ginny Priem. I am so excited to have her on the podcast today. As you can see, we are not in our regular setting. I'm at the hyperbaric clinic today with my son, and we're just getting him worked out. And we had this podcast scheduled, and I didn't want to miss it for the world because Ginny is such an amazing person, and I'm so honored that she would give me her time and space to just have a chat. So I want to welcome her, and I hope you guys enjoy her as much as I do. And yeah, hi, Ginny, the best-selling author and all these amazing things. She's a wonderful speaker. Her and I talked together at TEDx in Cavalier, and it's been such a treat to watch her grow and flourish and speak on all these international stages and do all these amazing things. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you.
On this show, we like to talk about being just in anything and how we minimize ourselves in order to make things comfortable for other people. And Ginny speaks a lot about those same things. I talked about it as my role as a farm wife, and that's why it's called Just a Farm Wife. And when Ginny did the TEDx, that's kind of what she talked about. I mean, we all had kind of similar themes that kind of bled into each other. And yeah, is there any way in your life that you felt like you were just in anything?
Absolutely. And I think, so when I talked about minimizing, I think I talked about it from the perspective as a cognitive distortion, right? And we often tend to do it to ourselves. And that was kind of the perspective that you talked about it from your TEDx talk, right? Like, oh, just a farm wife. Like, this is how you felt about it, which is so interesting because I just had the honor yesterday of speaking to a group of women in agriculture. And I kind of opened with the joke of like, did I grow up on a farm? No. Do I know anything about egg? No, I can barely keep a houseplant alive. But am I married to a farmer? Also no. But there's so many of these things that we share in common, like minimizing ourselves and sometimes, unfortunately, do it to others. That was like a big turning point for me when I was working with somebody, and it's actually why I picked my topic for my TEDx of minimizing, because someone who I was paying to help support my work, she said, your story's not that big. And I remember her saying that, and it felt like I got kicked in the stomach. So because of that, I started to minimize what I had been through, the most traumatic experience and event in my life. And when you're doing it to yourself and then someone else is doing it, that just compounds the impact that it has on you.
Right. It reinforces that belief. And it's 100% not true. None of it is. I mean, so often that it's so easy to believe these lies that we're told. Like, You really have to give yourself space to be aware of it and where it's at within you, because so oftentimes I find that when I notice these things starting to happen, there's a space that's within me that's allowing it and that thinks it's okay. And then when I flip that around, it's everybody else's behavior changes towards me. I mean, sometimes it doesn't, because some people are people and some people don't change, but the way that other people treat you starts changing when you change that belief about yourself.
Yeah, I think the things we tell ourselves, right? Like no one talks to us more than ourselves. So you have to really pay attention to that voice, what you're telling yourself. And I think it's really important to ask that question often, is what I'm telling myself, especially if it's something negative, is it true? Like,
Right.
what's the evidence to back this up?
Right. Exactly. And asking that of when someone else gives you feedback as well. Is it true? Or is that actually about them? Or is it really about me? Yeah. It's so important to be aware. I want to talk about your new book. I think it's so exciting. I loved it. It is such a great manual, I would say. And I was honestly surprised. I wasn't sure when I picked it up to read it. And this is a funny story. I bought it for myself, obviously, so that I could read it. And it went to my aunt in Minneapolis. Like Amazon started shipping my packages to my aunt out of my Amazon addresses. So like she got her birthday present, and then she also got 5 more things that were not hers. She's like, what is going on? Like she was like racking her brain. Who are these things from? What is happening here? And she finally she called me a couple days later to say thank you for her gift. And she's like, yeah, I keep getting these weird things. It's my stuff. So I ordered your book, a physical copy, and then I got an Amazon Kindle copy because the other copy went to her.
Oh my gosh, that is like I have tears in my eyes because that's so funny. I think we've all done that. And then I'm putting myself in her shoes going, was I drinking too much wine and like ordering that I don't remember? Like when did I order this? Oh my gosh, that is so funny. But thank you for the support, and hopefully she reads it and gets some little pearls too.
I hope so too. And I do want to give advice though. Like this is not a Amazon Kindle book. You need the physical copy. You need to be able to write things down. You need to hold it in your hands and go through it and really reflect on it. I love your whole theory of, it's not really a theory, it's a concept, right? To unsubscribe.
Yeah.
How did you come to that?
So I developed it based on kind of my own life events where I was living in this time of my life where I was trying to be everything to everybody, and I ended up being nothing to myself. I was completely overfunctioning. I was in a psychologically, emotionally, financially abusive relationship. And I was the one that was traveling for work. I was paying the bills. I was making sure the house was clean and the lawn was mowed and the kids were, getting to school and getting lunches. And I was doing the grocery shopping and the laundry and you name it. And I just completely lost myself. And so I wish I had this because I didn't have boundaries. I wasn't focusing my time and my energy in the right places. And so when I developed Unsubscribe, it really was rooted in that. Like, man, I wish I had these tools. And I love that you talked about it like, oh, it's a manual. I haven't heard anybody use that word yet. So thank you for that, because it really is designed to give you tools and then put it into real life application. So the title of the book is Unsubscribe: Why Letting Go is the Secret to Getting Ahead. And I call Unsubscribe a filter to reclaim time, energy, and boundaries at work and life. So what's great is I love that you're talking about it and applying it from an individual person perspective. It also resonates with teams, leaders, organizations. And so I'm speaking on this topic all over for different types of events. Like I said, I spoke for a Women in Ag event yesterday. I've got 2 more coming up with them. And it's based on 4 pillars. So Unsubscribe is not just about walking away from things flippantly or burning everything to the ground or blowing it up. It's really designed to be actionable, which is what I heard you say, right? Because you want to have it, you want to get in here and write and do the work and apply the principles within it.
You're right. It's not burning it to the ground. It's quietly taking back yourself. It's quietly pulling in all that energy that you send out to everyone else and supporting everybody else and just pulling it back into yourself. Because it's the same. I mean, we talk about living our life and having a full cup. And you need to have a full cup in order to spill out into others. And that's great and all. But I feel like this is a second piece to pouring from a full cup, right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like when you say you're pouring out and you're pouring out and pouring out, but you forget that other part to pull it back in and to be who you are.
For sure. And you, I think as a farm wife, right? I think what people miss is you are dealing with so much. You're dealing with the business, you're dealing with managing the household, the family, the chores. You're doing so much. And I think in your industry, amongst others, the common thing that I'm hearing people say just in life and at work is they feel stretched so thin. Everyone's being asked to do more with less resources, with less time. Everybody's busy, 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 busy. But are we actually being productive? Are we doing busy work just to be busy and going through the motions because that's what we've always done? Or are we actually getting to the root of doing the things that matter and being productive? And that's kind of the concept behind unsubscribe. It's not about doing more. It's about doing less with intention. It's about stripping away the unnecessary, the things that are draining you, the things that are keeping you stuck and stunted so that you can clear space for focusing on the things that are meaningful and that matter to you.
I love that. And that's what everybody's looking for in life, really, right? We're all looking for that balance because life is a game of juggling, a game of everything, everywhere. And where is it that you want to land? Because sometimes it's going to be a little bit out of balance here. And, sometimes there's more work and then less family time. Sometimes there was more family stuff than work stuff. And it's just a constant juggle. But if you're using your manual, it's easier to prioritize daily. Like after reading it, like to me, even it's kind of a daily thing. Like you're checking in with yourself daily. Like, how is this going to get me to where I want to be? And how am I going to feel empowered throughout my day? What can I take out that's draining me? And they're all very actionable steps.
Oh, I love to hear that. One of the most gratifying things for me and fulfilling is when I hear people talk about examples of how they've implemented it. And this isn't earth, shattering things. I made it simple on purpose. Doesn't mean it's easy, but it's simple. And I use words, right? So the 4 pillars are manage, swap, mute, and block. So manage, swap, mute, and block. And I do that because not everything can just be eliminated, right? We can't just go around eliminate, eliminate, eliminate. Some things need to be replaced. Some things we just need a break from. And some things are important and urgent, and we do have to manage them. And so I give different ideas on how you can do that and implement it. But what's fun for me is I obviously give a lot of my own ideas. And the best part is when people are like, oh, I'm applying it like this. Or just, it's so new. It's such a new concept, but already people I'll be in conversation that have read the book, that listen to the podcast, and they're like, oh, they'll use the language just casually in conversation, right? Like I got a text message from a friend today in Colorado who was like, hey, I want to pick your brain. I need to talk to you about something that I'm dealing with. It has to do with this. And I think I need to unsubscribe. Like the number of messages I get like that now, because it's catchy, right? It's a sticky word that we all understand what it means, but we're putting new meaning, a broader, deeper definition and meaning on how to apply it to your own life.
Yeah, I love that. Do you have a sticker that says unsubscribe and then the 4 pillars? We can stick it on a mirror so it reminds us in the morning. Okay. This
I
is what I
don't
want to
have one
do.
with all 4 pillars, but that is a good idea. There is on my Unsubscribe official website, you can order a sticker. I've got all kinds of swag on there.
Okay. Excellent. We'll make sure to check that out, and we'll be sure to put your website in the podcast description, all that stuff.
Awesome. Thank you.
The things that you've been doing are so wild and so awesome. And it's so fun to watch you travel and do exactly what you want to do. Like, you are living proof of all of these things. And there's just more and more to come.
Well, from your lips, I mean, to the universe's ears, that is the hope that there's more to come. And it feels so weird because I've been talking about Unsubscribe for a while, not that long in the big scope of things. I rebranded, relaunched a new website. Like I said, Unsubscribe official, rebranded my podcast last year to Unsubscribe in anticipation of the book coming out. And I've been doing speaking engagements, but it's still just in the infancy stages. I mean, like, it's just being born right now. The book has only been out for 1 month. 1 month tomorrow. Yeah. So it is still such my fresh little baby. And what I love about it too is like the story behind it, where it was rooted in my own traumatic experience and then kind of coming to this place. And we can talk about, if you want, some of the different ways, like some of the different examples of applying the pillars and stories that I've heard, if that's helpful, so people can think about how they can apply them to their own lives as well.
Yeah, please. Let's dig into all the things.
Okay. So I love when we talk about manage, I feel like one of the most relatable areas for manage is difficult relationships. We've all been there,
For sure.
whether it's a family member, a friend, a coworker, and sometimes we just can't remove them, right? We can't do a full unsubscribe and just, walk away. So how do we manage that relationship in a way, because we know we can't change their behavior. We can only change our own. So what are things that we can do to manage that it makes it more approachable or more acceptable or tolerable for us in our own lives? So you can manage the frequency of interaction, the type of interaction, and then the duration. So if you're seeing somebody and you see them once a month and they are just an energy vampire and you dread it, and every time you see them, you leave going, ugh, it's just like this energy suck. You can think about, do I need to see them every month? Could it be every other month or once a quarter? Or does it have to be in person? Could it be a phone call or a text or an email? Or does it have to be an hour? Can it be 30 minutes or 10 or 15? So you can start to manage it by putting parameters. So I'll tell you an example. I had a friend who was just really draining. The dynamics really shifted and things were feeling really off. She would call me repeatedly and I would start to put parameters and say, oh, hey, I have 15 minutes at this time. I'm going to be driving from point A to point B. Will that work? And surprisingly, she would always make it work, right? So then you kind of are owning and you're being a steward of your own time and energy and creating a boundary in a way of how you're willing to interact with that relationship.
Right. And it's very practical. I think sometimes we kind of get in our head a little bit about making those changes, that like it's bigger in our head, right? Because there's still the emotion behind it. And then how do you break it down into something simple? How do you break it down into a simple, actionable step? Like when you talk, you're like, oh, that sounds so easy. It sounds, oh, wonderful. I can do this. It's just a simple little task. But when you're in it, right? And sometimes it consumes you, and it takes a beat to get it, to be like, okay, what can I do? Where am I holding this tension in my body?
That's a huge one. Yeah. Knowing that, paying attention to those signs. Well, I think you bring up a really good point. I think the word boundaries is a little overused and very misunderstood. Boundaries aren't something that we declare, right? It's not like, I'm going to set a boundary with you, right? And I think it's really misunderstood that it's putting up walls, which it's not. It's actually just showing people where the door is so that they can continue to have access. When you implement boundaries, it's not because you're trying to shut somebody out. It's because you're trying to keep them in. And when you start to implement them, which it can be, if you've never done it, if you are a recovering people pleaser like me, it can feel really scary to start to have parameters of what you're willing and not willing to participate in. So by starting, you will quickly start to notice who isn't meant for you because they will try to bust your boundaries, won't respect them, and the people that are meant for you because they'll actually love and respect you more for it because they know and see it as you taking care of yourself, and they should want that for you too.
Right. Well, and the people that do not respect your boundaries, I mean, those are the people that you allow less and less access to, right? And if you don't need to have any contact with them or interactions with them, then don't.
Yeah.
Like that's
If you're
perfectly acceptable.
Absolutely. If you are trying to manage that relationship and they continue to bust, maybe you move it to a mute. Maybe that's somebody you need to say, I need a break from this person, set a time frame, journal about it in your book because there's worksheet space in there. And you can then pay attention to how you feel at that point. And then maybe it is a block, or maybe you go back to manage. So they're designed to flow in and out of one another. It's not just like, oh, this only goes in this pillar and that's where it stays. They can move, right? So you can move something from manage to mute, or swap to manage, or ultimately you might move it to block, which is where I like to say where things go to die. Right? Like block is the complete elimination and removal of something or someone from your life. So, things that just don't serve you anymore, that aren't working, that don't align with this version of who you are today. And that's okay. I think that people carry around a lot of like guilt and shame about those things, or they see ending of relationships as a failure versus being able to say, thank you for being a part of this time of my life. This is what I got out of it. And then moving on. And just going, this part just can't come with to this next version of
next
me.
chapter. Yeah, exactly. You were a part of this. Thank you. And now I've grown and shifted, and we can move past that. And that is certainly okay.
Yes.
That's awesome. The swap saying, it makes you assess a lot of different things in your life, like a lot of different simple things. And it kind of falls in line too with James Clear's kind of stuff with, habit stacking and, different things like that. Because what can you swap in your daily life that brings you more energy instead of draining your energy?
So I'm so glad you brought up swap and that you love that part, because swap ended up being a 2-page spread. I think it's on page 107. It's one of my favorite parts of the whole book, where I give you these whole swap this for that, and all these different ideas that we think about. We can be as high achievers, right? This kind of goes along with the just a farm wife, with the I'm just the whole minimizing, all of the things that we tell ourselves and the thoughts that we tell ourselves, or the patterns and behaviors like perfectionism, like guilt, like having walls, like having self-doubt and confusion. I mean, I could talk about this all day, right? Hustle culture, so many things that we just do, maybe like on autopilot, that we're not actually really thinking about, and we can do things easier. And one of the examples that I love to use in swap, because sometimes we get into this all or nothing black and white thinking, like, oh, well, if I can't work out for 60 minutes, then I might as well just not work out at all today. Do you have time for 15? I did that yesterday. I was like, I don't have time for, like, I have to catch myself with this stuff all the time. Like, I have to use my own tools. And yesterday I was like, I don't have an hour, so I might as well do nothing. And I was like, you know what, Ginny? No, use your own principles. You have 15 minutes. And so I did 15 minutes Pilates, right? Like, I was like, okay. And you know how much better I felt to do even just 15 minutes. But also, if you are injured and you can't run, can you walk? You swap it for a walk. Or if you can't do high intensity interval training because it just doesn't feel right now, can you swap that for yoga, something a little bit more gentle, right? So swap can be swapping negative, self-talk, different patterns and behaviors, and just shifting that perspective, or outdated systems. Like, this was one great example. I was doing a leadership conference a few months ago, and people were talking about swap at their table. And I was like, oh, what are you going to swap? And they were like, we are so excited. We work in payroll, and we've been doing payroll by hand, and we are getting to swap it for an automated payroll. Do you know how much time that is going to save us? And I was like, that is not my wheelhouse. That is not something I would have ever thought that someone would apply unsubscribe to in the workplace. And it brought me so much joy just to hear the variety and the vast ways that people are applying the principles at work and in their own lives.
Right. And swap is such a simple term in order to use it. Because sometimes, when self-help people and whatnot talk about, oh, let's change this behavior for this. It's so like up in your head
It can feel
instead of,
daunting.
yes, like it feels overwhelming. Like that's too much. Well, what if we just swap makes it sound like, okay, what if we just swap one thing today? It also helps you to fulfill the boundaries that you made for yourself so that you're not abandoning yourself anymore. Right. So, like the workout, am I going to work out for an hour or am I going to work out for 15 minutes? When you make that choice to not work out at all, that's self abandonment. And that's where you start losing energy, anyways. That's a leak. So, if it's important to you, make the swap, but it can be something so simple. It doesn't have to be such a big change,
Yeah.
and swapping things one thing at a time, one small habit at a time, then it's easy. And that's why having those pages in there is so good. And I love that there's ideas in there because sometimes you don't even realize where you're losing the energy, right?
Yeah. You just need sometimes like those starter ideas to be like, oh, you can
Mhm.
apply it this way.
Yeah.
This is where I can relate or a different place. And I think you're right. Like we talked about before, unsubscribe isn't about completely blowing things up. It's not about this complete radical change and becoming somebody different. It's just about becoming more true to who you really are
Right.
through simple, actionable steps. Wanted to make it approachable.
Yeah. Well, you definitely succeeded. I was really impressed. I really loved it. So thank you for writing it. You're right. It works for companies, it works for your personal life, it works for business. I mean, you can apply it everywhere, which is really unbelievable. So, way to go.
Thank you. And thank you
Seriously.
for getting it and rolling up your sleeves and digging into the work. And even I think family, at my book party,
Oh, families for sure.
someone raised their hand and she was like, would this be good for college age students? And I was like, I don't know. There's someone in the room that hired me to have me speak at the University of Minnesota who's a college student. Do you think this is right for college students? And she was like, yes. So I think it's simple enough that where I've had people go, oh my gosh, like my preteen and teenage nieces, this is language that they can use, especially when it comes to
Yeah.
comparison. I think about, man, I feel like age like 13, 14, 15 as a girl were like the hardest years. Like, oh my gosh, I would give
Yeah.
anything to not ever have to be that age again. But thinking about having these simple principles, right? Like trading comparison and judgment, and then thinking about how social media is feeding into those things now and
Mhm.
giving practical tips on how they can be more true to themselves. And like, imagine if we had that.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Well, I didn't have much guidance growing up. I had to figure all this out on my own, but
I feel ya.
yeah, but it is great. And as parents, when our kids see us doing it and us using this language and us coming to the dinner table and saying, oh, hey guys, we're gonna swap out chicken nuggets for salad because I feel like that serves us better. A ridiculous example, but that's how they learn it is
Yes.
something in the most basic forms of their life. And then when they grow up, I mean, I have a 25-year-old now and an 18-year-old. Yeah,
What? How did this happen?
I know. I was super young when I had my oldest, but yeah, 25 and 18. And these are the things that my kids repeat back to me. So that like they'll even notice when I'm out of whack and they'll be like, Mom, maybe you need a minute. Well, my kids are really great about calling me out about working out, which I really appreciate. But it's things like that. They notice when I am not living the way that I have showed them in those simple terms. And then they apply it. They call me out on it and they have that expectation that I will also call them out on it.
Well, that's because you've created a psychologically safe environment. You've led by example, and then you've created an environment for open communication and dialogue and holding one another accountable because you care. I think
Right.
that's beautiful.
Well, that's what we all aspire to, right? Is creating open lines of communication with our families and all of our relationships.
Yeah.
And we create boundaries when we need to. And you are 100% right. If they're not respected, then we just quietly move on.
Yes.
It's that
Sometimes that is the
easy.
right move. Sometimes a complete block is right, or a mute, take a break, and then determine what's right next, what the next right thing is.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I love it. I love it. And my kids will all be talking about it. And I expect a sticker, seriously, with all of them.
I'm on it.
Excellent. I love it. Well, I can't thank you enough for being on today. It's always such a joyful conversation with you. And you also lead by example. And I hope everybody who listens today subscribes to Ginny's podcast and all the social media things. Like there's so many right now.
So
I
many.
think,
I'll
yeah.
tell you, actually, one thing I chose to block was TikTok. It was just not serving me well. And I didn't mute it. I didn't manage it. I did a full deactivation, deactivated my account, removed it, like a full block. And I haven't missed
Good
it.
for you.
So like social media
There
is
you go.
another great example of things that we might, be able to utilize this for. But yeah, I'm on most all of the other platforms like YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. So
Yeah.
you can find me there.
Yeah. Yeah. Make sure to find her. And she's always traveling. She's so much fun to watch. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for being on today. And maybe next time we'll have a conversation about some harder things as well, because you've done a rebrand and I just wanted to focus on that and that light start. And I'm so proud of you. I think it's so wonderful.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to today's episode. And remember, you are never just an anything.